Welcome back to Nothing But Nets. I'm joined again with my NBA expert on a really good day for the Mets and perhaps the Jets do too. Hopefully, the Nets match the energy and give us something special today in a preseason game against the Clippers. But back to Nate. I want to get into Noah Clowney today. The expectations of Noah Clowney are exceptionally high amongst Net fans. I kind of wanted your thoughts on him, get into that. I think all of these small sample size, what we saw from Noah last year, it is promising, but Net fans think he's going to take a pivot and turn into an all-star in year 2 this upcoming season. What are realistic and reasonable expectations, and kind of what is your overview on Noah Clowney?
Well, I mean, first of all, good evening, Gary. Thanks for having me, as always. Noah Clowney for Nets fans, like obviously you need to be excited, but I mean, fans are fanatics for a reason. They're obviously he's not going to be an all-star this year, but you hope he takes a major step forward. I'm very excited about him. I think he has more offensive potential probably than Jared Allen. Maybe not the same defensive potential, but has such a great opportunity and he's on such a great contract and he has such a great skill set. Like, as much as this is the shit on Sean Marks podcast, he always finds these guys. Like these guys specifically, it seems like that there's snags them at 18, 19 in the 20s in the draft. And yeah, you have to be excited because he can do everything that a modern big man needs to do. It's like he was raised in this era and you can tell. Like he played he played a lot of 21 growing up. He played a lot of King of the Court. He played with his back to the basket. It's just that's what today's NBA is, and he can move his feet well. Like I said, he's not as great as Clowney on. I mean, not Clowney as a Claxton on defense, but probably nobody is, especially on the perimeter. But the guy can play defense on guards. He can move his feet. He can knock down. He's a much better shooter. Obviously, a much better shooter. He's got more offensive game. Like it's a guy. He's knocked down transition threes. I remember almost dropping my jaw at times. Like that was who just pulled up in transition and got his feet under him. And it's so you got to be excited. You absolutely have to be excited. Like I said, he's today's perfect big man if he molds into the player that he can be with his skill set.
Yeah, he's mobile. He's versatile. He can play in the transition. He's got that 6'10", 210 pound body, 7'2" wingspan. He's athletic. The pairing with him at the 4 and Claxton at the 5. Defensively, that looks like it's going to be problems. Is that something you want to keep together, or do they see Clowney as a possible replacement? With Claxton's contract, it decreases in value as it progresses, right? So 2 years from now and 3 years from now, he'll be making less than he is now. Do they view Clowney, in your opinion, do they view Clowney as a sidekick, as a piece with Claxton, or an eventual replacement for Claxton?
I mean, as I always tell you, Gary, that's the beauty of live sports. Well, I don't think we know, and I don't think they know yet. But he's in the perfect situation, as I alluded to in your first question, that he's going to see time at the 4. He's going to see time at the 5. He's going to see time without Claxton next to him. He's going to see time with Claxton next to him. So it's like the Nets are in a perfect position to not experiment, but to find out what they have in this player. And um, I've made the comparison that he can be a more athletic and a better defender version of a Bobby Portis, which is a great player to have on your team. We saw Bobby Portis fill a role in the playoffs, and again, I already think he's more athletic and a better defender than Bobby Portis. At least on the perimeter, a better defender. He's got quicker feet than Bobby Portis. But that type of potential where it's like he can be a starting power forward on a playoff team, or he can be a vital piece off the bench, regardless of depending on how deep your team is. But yeah, you got to be excited. But to answer your question, he's gonna serve time both next to Clowney on his own.
With the
We're,
Claxton,
we're gonna
yeah.
find out this year, or Claxton. Yeah, I keep getting our CLs confused.
He's a good athlete. He rolls to the basket well, so you can pick and roll with him. He's dangerous in the lob game. Offensively, there's a lot. And I had a couple of comps I wanted to ask you on. You said Bobby Portis, which was interesting, but I had a couple that I wanted your take on. But first, offensively, he can shoot the three a little bit, pretty well for a rookie. He rolls to the basket well. He's good in the lob game. He's a terrific athlete. Is this a guy that you can eventually draw up plays for, or is he just going to be kind of part of the offense where circumstances will get him points, but he's not really a guy?
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna have plays drawn up for you in the NBA, you have to be a damn good playmaker or a damn good shooter, and he's just neither of those. I'm talking about. I'm not saying he's a bad shooter, but you're drawing up plays for Kyle Korver. You're not drawing up plays for Clowney, and if you are, you're a bad team. So, and he's just not. He doesn't, in my opinion, and he won't ever have that playmaking ability. That's the one thing you don't ever develop in the NBA. You don't develop a handle and learn how to create for others. So no, he's a no to answer your question.
He's got a nice looking stroke, especially for a big man. He was kind of a subpar 3-point shooter in college and in the G League, and he came to the NBA and he shot out 36%, and he shot 42% on open threes. That's pretty good for a rookie. Which one's the aberration here? Was it his college and G League stats, which were kind of underwhelming, where he shot about 28%, or is it more this? You're going to get open looks, and he's going to hit them at a 42% clip. I mean, what do you think we can expect from him this year? Is it his G League and college stuff, or is it what we've seen in his short stint with the Nets last year?
We don't know, but you would like to think it's the latter. You'd really like to think that him maturing both as a player and, like you said, just having more space on the NBA floor. You see it happen all the time when guys are taking standstill threes in the corner compared to college when the game is just so much more shrunken. Someone's probably closing out or lots of late in the shot clocks when a guard doesn't know what to do with 5 seconds and throws it to Clown. I didn't watch a lot of him in college, but it's a completely different game than the NBA. Um, so you would think not only his game maturing and the space maturing, but just getting better as a jump shooter. That's clearly his bread and butter, and where his bread is going to be buttered if he's going to make a lot of money in this league is he's going to have to become a knockdown shooter. If he doesn't become a knockdown shooter, he's going to be on another roster. He'll be a 10th, 11th, 12th man. If he becomes a knockdown shooter, that's why PJ Washington was on the Dallas Mavericks and people trade for that. Guy's a knockdown shooter. He can't do a lot else on the court, but he can shoot the ball. And if like Noah Clowney can turn to a knockdown shooter, he's got not all the potential in the world, but all the potential in the world to be a rim protecting 3-and-D pop 4 kind of guy.
It's interesting that you said PJ Washington, because PJ Washington is 6'7". I had a couple of guys I wanted your thoughts on that. I kind of said, can he be a player like this? The first one is Serge Ibaka.
I mean, Serge is just such a physical presence.
He's got to fill out
Such a
more,
physical
right?
presence. And Serge, as I alluded to in the first question when you asked me about Clowney, Serge grew up playing basketball with his back to the basket, and you could tell that when you see him play. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When he catches a rebound, he can put it over his left shoulder, he can put it over his right shoulder. I guarantee you, Clowney's probably a better 3-point shooter than he is putting the ball over his right shoulder if he gets an offensive ring. It's just that's what the game is today. Like he never grew up practicing his left baby hooks. I'm not saying good or bad, but they're a little bit different in that just because of the eras are different. Where it's one is probably
Sure.
going to play with his back to the basket almost all the time, but Serge did develop with a good. I see what you're saying in terms of the perimeter shot and the defense. I just think Serge was such a physical, dominant presence, like
Serge
that
has
I don't
25.
see.
About the same height. I think they're both 6'10", 6'11", so they're about the same height. And Serge has about 25 to 30 pounds on him. So, yeah, they're built very differently.
Sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
physical presence is just a little different. Yeah, just that. I don't know. I could see, Serge being like getting an offensive rebound and being able to take a dribble and go for a putback where Clowney is probably kicking it back out and then resetting. It's just not. It's a different. We'll see. I mean, we'll see. The guy's got a lot of potential, but yes, they're different players for sure. But I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
The other comparison I thought was interesting. I heard someone, LB, say this. Thad Young, former Nets great fan favorite, Thaddeus Young, as another possible comp.
I mean, Thaddeus Young to me was like if Julius Randle was really bad.
Not a
I
Thad
don't.
Young fan. Yeah.
I mean, he did his job, but it's like Thad Young's one of those guys where if he's good, then your team is bad. You know what I'm saying? For the most part, if he has a significant role on your team, it's because you don't have a very good team, and that's what it was for Julius Randle for a long time until the Knicks started to win. That's why I say he's kind of like a smaller version. Again, Thad Young was never. If you had Thad Young in the corner, he's not knocking down 4 threes a game, but you're kind of you're letting him knock down 2 or 3 until you really step to that shot. You're waiting for him to pump fake and put the ball down with his left hand. And again, I haven't seen that a lot from Clowney. When I do think, yeah, I mean, again, I don't think he has that playmaking ability that Thad Young did. That was good with the ball in his hands and creating his own shot a little bit.
When he came to the Nets, Thad Young was talking about, when he came to the Nets in the 15-16 season, he got red hot with the corner three. He was hitting 1 or 2 every game. And I think that's the memory the Nets have in him. And that wasn't really what he was. I mean, he could hit the three, he could hit the corner three, but that really wasn't his strength. But I thought that was an interesting comp. But you gave Bobby Portis, which I think is pretty good. I think that's a pretty good comp. With Claxton out with a little tweak of an injury, Jordy's talked about playing Ben Simmons and then 2 guards. So Ben Simmons, then Cam and Schroeder. That rotation, the lineup with Claxton out would be, Ben Simmons as your point center and Clowney on the court with Cam, and Schroeder. It's a rotation I kind of like. I don't know how. I mean, you got to try it out. You got to see how it looks on the court. But a rotation of Clowney, Claxton, Cam Thomas, Cam Johnson, and Schroeder. What are your thoughts on that rotation?
I kind of hate it. Only for
Okay.
Schroeder. Like I like Simmons kind of at the point 5, even though he really doesn't, obviously not going to want to play center. He's going to still probably guard a guard or a wing in that scenario. But again, it goes back to like our Knicks argument. It's like there's only one basketball, so what's the point of having Schroeder and Cam Thomas and Ben Simmons all at once? If especially on the other end, 2 of them aren't going to give you anything on defense and probably just get attacked on the other end and not great help
But look at the
defenders. Obviously,
switch
I'm talking
help
about
and the
Schroeder and
length that you
Cam.
have on the court, though, with Clowney and Simmons, right? I mean, you got 2 mobile,
That's
athletic
what I'm
six.
saying. That's why you get me excited. That's why you get me excited, and then you go, oh, and here's Schroeder and Cam, and give me one, pick one. No, I'm good with one. I got Ben who can rebound and push in transition. Give me another shooter. Give me fucking Doe out there. Don't give me Schroeder where like because I'm just so compromised on defense. Every possession is a battle. Every possession is an absolute battle with Schroeder and Cam. And again, I'm not saying you can't, and I'm not saying there's lineups where it won't happen. But if I'm gonna have Ben Simmons out there that can already handle a lot of point guard duties, then I'd rather have a bigger guy who could defend it and knock the 3 down in that specific lineup that you give me.
What if we did something that I would like, and that's take Schroeder off the court and put Amari Bailey on the court. 6'4", athlete, above the rim kind of player who can handle the ball and play off the ball. So now replace that lineup, take Schroeder off, and just put Amari Bailey in his stead.
I think you have to note on your podcast every time you say his name that he's not related to Ace Bailey.
He's not related to Ace Bailey or Armani Brooks, who I've made a note not to call him Armani Brooks anymore. Amari Bailey.
I mean, yeah, they're gonna be like the Nets of 7-8 years ago. We're gonna see a lot of lineups. We're gonna see guys being able to earn their keep, and that's the beauty of live sports. That's the beauty of a roster like this. Like it's wide open, and it all starts as of now for us, Gary, in about less than an hour when they tip off.
It's preseason, and just like the Jets win every game, I think Salah was undefeated in the preseason, right? All of his games.
This year he definitely was.
I think he was last year too. And I know the Lions lost all their games. They won all their preseason games. So the preseason is a trial and error period. Like you want to try different things. It's a sparring session and not the week before the fight. Or not the last week of training camp. It's a time to try things out. And like I said, you're gonna try different lines. You're gonna try different rotations. Claxton's not playing. I don't know how much they're going to play guys like Finney Smith and Cam Johnson because I assume they want to trade them. I want to ask you that. You got Finney Smith and Cam Johnson, who obviously are taking minutes away from Clowney and Jalen Wilson. To get Clowney on the court and to get him 30 minutes a game, has Marks missed the boat on that by not trading Cam Johnson or Finney Smith? Because they both got to play. If you want to trade them, they got to play. Has he missed the boat, and is that kind of slowing the progress of Clowney, who played very few minutes last year?
Listen, you compared it to the Jets. You spoke about the Jets earlier, and I'll compare it the same. It's like if Sean Marks is holding value, just like holding on to his value and thinks he's worth a certain pick or he wants for the Cam, then I think he's doing right by the Nets. Like these players still have value on the court. They still are going to play at some point. We're not going to go through a health-free year. There's going to be times when guys are nicked up. There's going to be plenty of time for the guys that deserve playing time to play. These guys are good NBA players. They're going to play for a bad NBA team. Cam Johnson is not going to be buried on the bench and get 0 minutes because now we have Zaire Williams and Armani Bailey.
Zaire.
It's not happening.
Which is why I thought it was imperative that we trade them, at least Finney Smith, before the season starts. Because here's my point. Who is going to help winning more? Finney Smith and Cam Johnson or Clowney and Wilson? Who's going to win you more games?
Clowney and who?
Clowney and Jalen Wilson, or Cam, or the two veterans, Cam and Finney Smith. Who's going to help you win more?
Why do I have to choose though?
Because isn't the answer obviously Cam Johnson and Finney Smith are going to help you win more games? I mean, isn't that why people want them? They make at least in theory.
Why am I choosing that? That's like, does Aaron Rodgers and Breece Hall help you win more, or Quinnen Williams? And why do I have to choose?
Because they're going to play the same position. So those guys are taking minutes off the court. They're taking the minutes that should be going to Jalen Wilson and Clowney. You know what I'm saying? If I got them off the team,
I guess I think there's more room in the rotation than you do for everyone to share a little bit of the floor, especially when it's going to be. I don't know. Like this isn't baseball. It's not you're in the lineup tonight and you get 4 at bats. Like there's going to be times when guys aren't playing well that some guys are going to get 25 minutes and the next night they get 12, and then the guy who got 8 minutes is getting 25 minutes. That's just the type of team they're going to be this year.
You're probably right about that. I just look at this roster though, and I don't understand how these guys are still here. I don't understand why they weren't traded at the deadline last year, but last year at the deadline, you were trying to make this push to be the 10 seed, which I'll never understand. It's just you want to be the Chicago Bulls. That's the position you want to be. That's a terrible position. Why are you trying to be that team? They should have been traded at the deadline last year. So, okay, they'll be traded before the season starts, and here we are, 2 weeks before the season starts, and these two guys with value are still here. I don't fully understand why they're here when we could just be going with the youth movement.
I'll compare it to our Jets again, Gary. It's kind of like what they did with our head coach in the offseason. Like we kind of knew it wasn't good enough, but just wanted to see what would happen. And the same thing happened at the deadline with the Nets. Like Sean Marks didn't want to just say, yeah, I screwed up with Mikal. Like team was built around Mikal and we can make the playoffs. And he's a an up and coming star in the league. And sometimes guys want to be proven right a little bit. If he makes the playoffs with Mikal Bridges and guys start playing well, he's a 20-something a game scorer, and that's what he envisioned. And he wanted it to be that way. Just like when the Jets had Zach Wilson and Joe Douglas was stubborn on every year, and he was the backup, even though he can't play quarterback in the league. He shouldn't have been there. And Saleh didn't show you anything that he should have been there again. But you're just kind of hoping like, yeah, but we put this team together for him, and now he's got a quarterback and Mikal Bridges has pieces around him, and we're only a couple games out. And what if? And all of us, we know the reality. But to the person that makes the decisions, they sometimes don't want to look so stupid so quickly.
Yeah, no, I get it. And that 13-10 start that we got off to last year, which was smoke and mirrors, that was really the worst thing that could have happened because it kept us competitive. It kept us in the race through the deadline, which we really weren't. And even if
you keep drawing parallels to the Jets, it's like remember when the Jets beat the Eagles 3-2? I'm like, yeah, but this offense is terrible. But when we all knew it, but when we didn't trade Huff and we didn't make the moves that we should have made, or get a new quarterback.
So to bring this back to Clowney, well, first I want to, is he a 4? Is he a 5? Or is he a true hybrid of the two? I mean, looking at your crystal ball, he's 24, 25. Is he a 4 or is he a 5 as a starter in the NBA?
Listen,
or is he a true hybrid?
I haven't given you a lot of concrete answers, but I think, like I said this earlier, we're gonna find out. He's gonna play both this year. But I compared him to Bobby Portis, and what would you say Bobby Portis is?
I'd say Bobby Portis is if you said classify Bobby Portis as a position, I'd say he's a 4. What would you say?
Well, if you gave me the option as a hybrid, I'll take that.
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Because depending on the lineup, right? Depending on the lineup, like he's playing next to Giannis. What is he?
It doesn't matter, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it depends on the lineup. It depends on, but Bobby Portis, against the Hawks in November can play center for 20 minutes a night. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know yet, but I also said I think he's a better defender and more athletic than Bobby Portis, which gives him a lot more upside defensively. So I definitely think he can be a 5, and it's like I hope he can. If he shows ability that he can defend even sniff Claxton's level, it's like wow. Now, all right, we have some, like you said this earlier. We have possibly someone that could replace Claxton and give us more offensively and open up the floor for Ace Bailey or Cooper, whoever it's going to be in the future on this team.
So I just had a little bit of a wet dream of a starting front court with Claxton at the 5, Clowney at the 4, and Ace Bailey at the 3. The length and the athleticism and the switchability of that front court would be something I think is unique in the NBA, which is why I want Ace so bad on this team. Let's start with what we have. Is Claxton and Clowney the start of something that could be legitimate, or is that? Would you look at that and say it's possible that we got our 5 and 4 moving forward?
Yeah, 100%. Especially if your 4-man, especially if Clowney can blossom as an offensive, because obviously he needs to blossom offensively this year, because you can't have Claxton next to Claxton. You need to have more out there. You need to have someone that can, like we said, that if he's a Bobby Portis that can sit in the corner, and when if Ace Bailey's driving the lane, that defender in the corner has to make a decision. Am I helping on Ace Bailey, or am I going to our Bobby Portis guy in the corner? And obviously that's a real decision to make. So hopefully he can become that. And if he does, again, if he becomes a knockdown shooter, absolutely. If he does not become a knockdown shooter, then things get kind of ugly. Then you really don't want that next to Claxton.
And when you say a knockdown shooter, you would classify Peak, Serge Ibaka, you would add Brook Lopez. Those are knockdown shooters, right? They can sit down and hit a 3. You're not talking about he has to be Klay Thompson.
Gary, when I say knockdown shooter, I say the same scenario to you all the time. Star player A is driving down the lane line. Your man is in the corner. You're the help man. You have to make decision. Do I stunt and jump to him? Do I jump in front of Kevin Durant, or do I just hug Ray Allen in the corner? You know what I'm saying? Like, depending on the man, that's who. Like, can he become a knockdown shooter where it's like, yeah, that's Dante DiVincenzo there. That's Bobby Portis. That's like we could go on names and names where
you
it's like
can't let him shoot the ball.
Gonna he's gonna knock down. You cannot leave that NBA player wide open for 3. Where, if we can name 50 other guys that you can.
Which was my take on Amari Bailey. My take on Amari Bailey. If he could ever hit that corner 3 consistently, and you had to step out and guard him, he can average 20 points a game in the NBA. Will you do me 2 favors? Because the first one, everyone hates doing, but it's that time of year when every Net fan gets hope in Ben Simmons. What can we expect from Ben Simmons this year? Can you answer that? I know that's a horrible question to ask anyone because he's going to play 20 games. But what can we expect from Ben Simmons? It's a contract year. If anything, the hope he's going to play and play decently, it is his contract year.
You can expect him to be at the Met Gala again.
Agreed.
You can expect him to say the right things to the media this year.
Agreed.
You can expect him to be on the court in the first month of the season.
Parts of it.
Yeah, and then you have no other expectations.
I kind of agree with you, and he is the highest paid player on the team, and so we do have to talk about the highest paid player of the team on the team, which every team's fan base talks about the highest paid player on the team. Ours is just useless and doesn't play. Over under 20.
Isn't the highest paid med in Texas?
What was that? I think so.
Isn't
I believe so. Yeah, I think so.
Those guys are making a lot of money in Texas playing for other teams.
I gotta look. I think that's true. I don't know who else it would be. And then finally, my guy. I've talked about him 3 times today. Amari Bailey. Will you do me a favor? He's got a bunch of tape, a little bit of NBA tape, a bunch of college tape. Can you take some time, watch Amari Bailey, and tell me if you see what I see?
I'm intrigued. I'll look into him. Where do you go to school? Where do you go to college?
UCLA.
Okay, yeah,
He
I remember.
really
Did
didn't
he wear
come
number
on
4
until
there?
the end of his.
Did he wear number 4?
Ooh,
At UCLA?
That's a
I'll
good.
look at. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
He
I'll
really came on the second half of that year. They said if he would have went back.
Let me ask you a question, Gary. Who was your guy before? Who was your guy before Amari Bailey? Like 4 years ago.
On the Nets?
Yeah.
Sean Kilpatrick, is that where we're going?
Okay, I'm curious. I want to know where I'm.
When the Nets were bad. Oh, you talking about Karis LeVert? Is that where we're going back to?
No, I'm just
okay.
I'm just asking.
I thought you had someone
like 4 or 5 years ago. Like who did you have? This guy could be good. A random name that.
Jonathan Isaac for sure. Just in the NBA, Jonathan Isaac. A net
name. I want a net name.
4 years ago, probably Karis. I would before the Harden trade. Karis LeVert was my dude.
LeVert was your guy.
Yeah.
Fair.
Now he doesn't play anything like Bailey, so that's not a good comp. But
no, I hear what you're saying. Okay. I'll definitely look into it.
That's all I got for you, Nate. Appreciate you hopping on.
Anytime, Gary. Anytime. Let's go Mets. Let's go Jets. Let's go Nets.
I wonder what Jorge Lopez is doing today now that he no longer has to play for the worst team in baseball.
Dude, he started it all.
He wasn't wrong at that point either, by the way. We all kind of felt that way.
If we knock on wood, I won't say it, but if we win the you-know-what, his glove, wherever that glove is, will be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
The glove he threw into the stands that started up. Like, he needs to sign that. And
Met fans owe him a debt of gratitude.
Yeah. That was unbelievable.
I was telling little Connor that goes live with me, that besides the 01-02 Nets, this Met team since June 1st has been the most fun team I've ever gotten to root for as a Mets, Jets, and Nets fan. The 09 Jets in that playoff run where they won their last 3, that was close, but this was more fun. And nothing matches the 01-02 Nets with Jason Kidd. That was the most fun I've ever had as a sports fan.
You can't fake the camaraderie. You can't fake what's going on in their clubhouse. It's just... It's incredible. I asked my dad, who's 72 years old. He was 17 years old and senior in high school when the Mets won in 1969. 17 years later in 86. He said this is crazier than both of those runs, as he's living it for the 3rd time. And I asked him, I said, is this how 69 and 86 felt? He said, this is crazier.
My mom moved to New York in the summer of 69. She moved back to New York after living here. She moved back to New York in the summer of 2024. So that means the Mets are also going to win the World Series this year.
There's no one to beat. There's no powerhouse. There's no one to be scared of. Let's go through the whole playoffs. I mean, look at every series. First time in MLB, every division series is tied 1-1.
Yeah. No, Doug Glanville says he picked the Mets to win the World Series because he said there's no favorite. There's no clear best team in baseball, and the Mets believe in themselves till the 27th out. So I'm picking the Mets, which, yeah,
as they should, and they're playing hot. Everybody's playing hot. Pete Alonso has 3 opposite field home runs. He had 4 this year in 162 games that he played in.
And then
now he has 3 in the postseason.
The last 4 games he's got 3. This is a special season. I don't know how this movie ends. But it's been a lot of fun.
Hey, I'm gonna keep riding it. I'm gonna enjoy every episode I can.
I'm going to say the same thing I said about the '09 Jets. If they fall short in the NLCS, it's okay. It's okay. Like, it's been a crazy ride. If you would have said this to me, on June 1st that the Mets are going to be playing in the NLCS, I would have laughed at you, right? I would have thought that was the craziest thing ever.
That's why it's so shocking. Like when that night when he threw his glove into the stands and basically called us the worst team in baseball, and everybody said, we're a joke, and we had the players only meeting, and now this is where we are months later. Like I spent my whole Mets season getting excited about the Jets. And now someone's just knocking my door like, "Yo, they're a couple of games from the World Series." I'm,
Yeah.
I left them in the dust in May.
May, Memorial Day, I called in on Jake Shaw. I said, this team is trash, it's garbage, it's terrible. Yeah, so I basically agree with Jorge Lopez. Yeah, he's right.
Yeah, I threw my glove into the stands too. I threw my glove too that day.
Appreciate you hopping on. Last thing, Monday night against Buffalo, first place on the line. How are the Jets gonna do?
Well, I mean, we just talk about it. The players only meeting will turn around any team ending in ETS. If the Nets get off to a bad start, players only meeting, baby.
The Jets go. How many games left in the season? 12. The Jets go 11-1 from here on out.
Jeff Ulbrich, I will have a gray salt and pepper beard the next time if that happens. I will have my Jeff Ulbrich beard on.
And then we will make it mandated that if a team that ends in ETS is ever under 500, we just have a players only meeting, and then everything changes.
Team meeting. We either do a team meeting. We invite Grimace, or a pop star develops on the roster. One of the three.
Do the Jets have any potential pop stars on the roster?
They cut that guy Knapp last year who did the Eminem. That was pretty good. The one who was I don't know. I mean, Zach Wilson would probably be a better pop star than QB.
He looks
but
like
he's
a
not on
pop
the
star.
roster.
Yeah, he's got the pop star
really
look.
does.
Yeah. Oh, you muted just yeah.
Yeah, he's got the boy band. He's got the boy band look for sure.
Does look like he could be a boy. Maybe he's got a career after football, because I do think that this is going to be the last year we see Zach Wilson in the NFL. It's a third stringer in the worst quarterback room in football, maybe football history.
As long as Tim Boyle is in the NFL, Zach has a chance.
How is Tim Boyle in the NFL? I mean, there are worse guys not in the NFL than Tim Boyle. Was the worst thing I ever saw in my whole entire life. Is that guy on the Giants that played at Georgia, Jake Fromm? Is he still in the league? Because he was horrendous also.
I don't think so.
He shouldn't be.
I haven't seen him.
Yeah, he was probably worse than Zach Wilson too.
I would take current day Jared Lorenzen over Tim Boyle.
Yeah. I don't understand how Tim Boyle had a job in the NFL. I never comprehended that. That never made any sense to me. There are better guys without a job. There's better guys in the unemployment line than Tim Boyle. Why?
You must not have seen his college tape where he threw more interceptions than touchdowns before he developed
Tim
to what
Boyle
he did today.
At UConn was an internet meme. I think his career stats was 1 touchdown and 14 interceptions in his 2 years at UConn. So that's the guy. All right, Nate. Truly appreciate your time.
Anytime, Gary.
Look forward to the next time. Thanks, Nate.
Let's go Nets. Enjoy the game tonight.
Yes, sir.